Hi there, and welcome to Jay's Toy Collection UK for a very special interview here at MCM Comic Con London. Now, of course, I've got my hecklers, I've got my crowd there. Of course, you'll recognise this man next to me is Ryan Ting, of course, from Hasbro Marvel Legends. Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jay. How are you?
I'm all right. I've been on the coach since 4 a.m. this morning. How was your London travel?
A little easier than that. We got in Thursday morning, and so we've gotten accustomed to it. So you got enough energy?
I've been going now for about 12 hours, but I've got plenty of energy.
Okay,
so
great.
We'll keep it going. We had a great panel today, so we're going to get all into it in the interview today. So first things though, it's our first time on camera together. So my gateway into Marvel was the 1990s animated Spider-Man series. So Dan Young would be very proud of me on that way in. What was your gateway into Marvel?
I think it was a combination of the X-Men animated series in 1992 and the first series of the X-Men Impel trading cards.
Yeah.
They kind of came out at the same time, and that was how I learned a lot about the characters. And then maybe a little bit of video games too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you've got a nice mix there of 90s way.
Yeah, I mean, I had comic books. I actually didn't have too many comic books when I first started out as a kid, because when you're 6 or whatever it is, and you don't live near a comic store, your parents need to take you. So you might get a couple of comics here and there, but it was other forms that were my access to learning about the Marvel Universe.
Same for me. Confession time. Didn't read a comic book till I was an adult. So now, tons of the things in there catching up, but the animated series was the way in. So I've been through the panel today, my first panel in person. It was great to be there. There should be coverage on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. I've tried to film it. Spider-Man was the focus today. Of course, I've said Spider-Man was my way into Marvel. Yeah. So those retro cards are really nostalgic back to the Toy Biz line. And one of the figures today that really did excite me was Jacko Lantern, which was shown at 10:27 yesterday. That character, I used to work in a toy shop here in the UK called Woolworths. And I used to work in the toy department 20 years ago. So when Spider-Man Classics was out, we had that version of Jacko Lantern in Spider-Man Classics. So I've been waiting a long time for that figure. Looks to me like it's an all-new body, butterfly joints and everything. If you could talk a bit more about him.
It is, yeah. That's something that we really want to stress. I guess for that whole wave, it's a lot of new pieces, completely pinless everything. But for Jacko Lantern, in that green goblin-esque kind of vein, he does now have butterfly shoulders, which you'll see there's some of that scalloped patterning from the goblins on both parts of the shoulders, pinless elbows, pinless knees, and everything. Those original, not the original, but those previous Green Goblin and Hobgoblins were based on Bucky Cap, so they were the arms and the legs from Bucky Cap with a one-piece torso, and that's all new, and so we look forward to Jacko Lantern being the first in perhaps a series of future glider-riding goblin, pumpkin throwing.
Potential foes. More goblins, people. Potential. That's all you're getting here, but there's an inside tip. Potential. Talking of potential, Tombstone. To me, I've seen it in the case. That looks like a new, suited, but much bigger buff body.
Yeah, it's complete. That's a completely new figure as well. Some people might think, oh, does that kind of look like the Logan, Old Man Logan from like the movie Logan in the suit with the Professor X, that 2-pack? It is a completely different body. You'll see it. It's a little taller. It's a little more muscular. And I forgot to mention it in the panel, but there is some articulation in the waist. It is on a ball waist articulation, so you can get a little bit of tilt, a little bit of forward and back, and a lot of swivel. Even though he has a full-length suit jacket that is closed, it is not meant to open to keep that nice profile. You still do get some movement. He's not 100% stationary, and it's just a really tall figure. He's supposed to be, I think, 6'7", 6'8" in the comic books, according to various bios that I looked up. And he definitely stands one head to maybe at least half a head taller than any normal Spider-Man figure to really give him that menacing, imposing stature. And he's got 2 heads, which are awesome. He's got multiple hands, and I'm really excited to add him to the shelf there. The previous Tombstone was a fine figure, but this one is going to be my go-to for display for sure.
Excellent. So we've got potential then. Now that body is in the tooling library, we could use it for more upcoming potentially, bigger suited characters.
Off the top of my head, I don't know who else that might be, but Tombstone is important. He He is a big Daredevil villain as well, so he could work in that display. Get two, do one head in one, one the other profile on the other display if you want.
Get three, keep one on card. Yep. So there you go. You don't know.
We're making more sales as we go along here.
Talking articulation, then another one in there is the Last Stand Spider-Man. That seems to be a solid torso, but I think you were showing me earlier in the cabinet there is a ball joint there, so we should still get some movement.
Deal. Yep. His jacket is just a little bit too long to have the full kind of ab crunch, but he does also have that ball joint to give you really good rotation and a little bit of tilt there.
Yeah, so that's good. So we got some movement then on that. Excellent. Right, Giant Man. Of course, he's in the case. He's looking absolutely excellent in a very nice, relaxed pose, I must say, in there. So the success of the Giant Man. Future Haslabs. Let's get into that. You've said previously on this one, you've got some learnings from the last one, and you went back to like the bigger character, sort of the bread and butter of Marvel Legends. Does that rule out anything else in the Haslab? Could we get a play set, or are we going to stick with more big figures? Because I would love something like an X-Mansion or anything like that. Danger Rooms, maybe. But are we focusing more on bigger characters?
So we actually don't know what the next item is going to be. We've been having meetings, and in the 1 week since Giant Man campaign ended, we've been having several meetings about potential directions to go. And I think everything's kind of on the table for us. To your point, we take learnings from every campaign, both internal and external to the company. So from Marvel Legends, obviously, from seeing what works for other brands, seeing what fans are doing in the broader collector space, and we just try to make every campaign a little bit better than the last, using those insights. So things that we're trying to pay attention to: price, space, character relevance. For Legends specifically, what do people want for their displays? So all of that is factoring into the types of things we're considering and we'll ultimately decide to do, which we haven't yet. And it's like the crowdfund campaign would be well into 2024. So here we stand in October, still 2023. We've got a little bit of time to figure stuff out.
Excellent. So we're not ruling out anything beyond bigger figures then. There would be potential of anything else
I think
as well.
Anything is on the table, but like bigger figures, at a certain point you max out. I don't think there are too many obvious slam dunk.
Yeah, I was thinking Fing Fang Foom, but after that you might be running out of massive ones you could do.
Fing Fang Foom would be bigger and more complicated than Giant Man. So if fans were on board for that, then yeah, we'll look at it. But that probably wouldn't be a $200 similar Giant.
No, because you'd want to make it bigger than the previous.
You'd want to have the wings, you'd want to have the tails, all the articulation, you'd want to have alternate profiles, you'd want to have fire accessories fitting out, right?
Yeah.
So that would take more, for sure.
Excellent. With today's reveals then, it was a retro card wave. We've been seeing a lot of retro carded waves. Are we getting away from the Bath concept, or are we still going to stick with Baths in 2024 as well? Or are we just cutting down and mixing it up a bit?
We're mixing it up, but the Void wave that we revealed is up for pre-order now. That's a 2024 wave. So there will still be Build-A-Figure waves, multiple, in 2024. It just, for the time being, we've kind of hit a stride with Spider-Man in particular, that there are so many. There was a very well-established Toy Biz line from the 90s, so certain characters like a Tombstone, Jacko Lantern, Scarlet, Spider could work great on that retro card. Will we go back to Build-A-Figures for Spider-Man at some point? Probably. It's just right now we've kind of, for Spider-Man, gone the blister card approach, but there will be Void and other Build-A-Figures coming in 2024 for sure. Yeah.
Hopefully we will go back to Spider-Man Build-A-Figures. I want a Man Spider.
Okay.
Got to have a Man Spider. Haven't had one since the early Toy Biz days, so would love to see that. Going to go on to accessories. So we have seen quite a few more accessories in today's waves. Some of last year's were lacking in accessories, but we do seem to, with a retro card, to be able to fit more accessories in. Is that because we don't have the Build-A-Figure, we can fit in more accessories? Is that freeing anything up budget-wise? Is that anything you can talk about?
Sometimes, but with regard, so for apples to apples comparison, the Spider-Man retro wave 2023 versus 2024, the reason why it was hard for us to include all of the hands in the 2023 wave was because those characters had painted web lines all on their hands. So Ben Reilly, the other Ben Reilly Spider-Man, not Scarlet Spider, the Spider-Woman, those hands all needed a lot of deco. And I know that point can sometimes get overlooked, but deco costs money when it comes to product development, and so when hands are decoed to do thwips, fists, and open hands, it's more challenging. For a wave like this where the hands are not painted, we can more easily include all of them. That's why Hollow's Eve comes with 2 sets of extra hands. That's why Ben Reilly Spider-Man can come with two alternate sets of hands. But we know that that's important to the fans, and we honestly do try our hardest to put them in when we can. The immediate reaction to when you see a new figure and you immediately are counting up, it's like, wait a minute, why does this only have 1 flip and 1 fist? It's not because we forgot. It's not because we didn't want to. It's just sort of how it had to be.
It fits in.
But we hear you guys on that, and please rest assured that we try to where we can.
Excellent. With accessories again, glow in the dark. So a lot of companies are getting into glow in the dark, but not a thing we've had. I think the 4 many years ago for Comic Con had a glow in the dark Mjolnir, but since then it's not something we've ever been touched on. So I know Iron Man could probably do with some new effects, maybe some glow in the dark lighting. Are there any new effects in tooling at least for next year?
With regards to glow in the dark, that's interesting. No one's really brought that up before, so we'd have to take a look at it. In terms of new effects, like we try to do those where we can. And for Iron Man, I don't know what we have kind of coming up, but every year they're sprinkled in a couple of things here and there that make sense for the future.
Excellent. With a lot of retro cards coming out and the VHS line running as well, is there any chance we could see some more of the other animated series? We've seen some Iron Man on the retro card. There could be a Generation X retro card potentially, I think, that could be done. Even all the way back to Secret Wars. I know that wasn't done under Hasbro, so you might have some licensing there, but are there any other animated series we could focus a bit more on, get some more Iron Man characters, or any different other retro card designs out there? Because they do look really good on the wall.
Well, I'll say it again, that it would be a shame for all that work from Harry Moore and Ben and Sean and Alan on the team back at Hasbro, who invested so much in that Iron Man retro wave. It would be a shame to only have 2 items ever made of that.
Okay.
And then with regards to Secret Wars and other type of things, everything that's Marvel that has been in toys or comics in the past, with their partnership, we can try to bring those things out in the future, so we'll see.
Excellent. I would love a green-skinned Mandarin from the Iron Man animated series. That's an absolute must, so hopefully one day that might be on the cards. Gaming, I've had a few questions come in to ask about gaming. Spider-Man 2 seems an awfully successful game for the PS5. Are there any plans for more gaming figures next year? Maybe some humongous Venom, anything potentially in the works for Gamerverse?
The things with the video games are that video game development timeline is different than toys, so it's very challenging for us to time something new to the game when the game comes out. And so anything from that Spider-Man 2 game, which just came out, we'd be looking pretty far in the future. 2024, I don't think we have much planned for video games, but for that Spider-Man video game franchise, it's been going, there's a couple titles now, it's its own new little universe, and so I think there is a chance that we will be pitching and looking back to bring out desirable characters from that universe.
Yeah, okay. With the MCU, there's been a lot of delays potentially next year due to the actors' strike and everything. Is that going to have a knock-on effect on product from Marvel? Would there have to be a wave shifted around, more comic book stuff come in to potentially fill the void of stuff you may not be allowed to show due to the films?
The reality is, with moving entertainment dates, we just do the best we can. Sometimes movies push back further enough that we can hold the product to launch the following year. Yep. Sometimes when it's a matter of months, we just have to release it at the originally intended date, even though the movie comes out a little bit later. That's not ideal, but it gets complicated with retailers, and you still want your product featured in stores and places, and so you don't want to lose that. But it's really just a case-by-case basis, and I was speaking earlier, I think with Dan, it's a lot easier to push waves out than it is to bring things in. So as much as we would love to say that movie wave got pushed out, let's just bring something else in, everything is already on its own track, so that's very hard to do. So we try to do the best we can.
Yeah, excellent. What else have I got here on my fantastic list everybody sent to me? Cell shading. So we've seen some of the VHS have cell shading, but some don't. Are we going to stick with cell shading going forward, or are we getting away from it for the animated
I
figures.
think that's also a case-by-case basis. If a certain character came out relatively recently, maybe we would want to put cell shading on it. But if it's a character that has been like an all-new character, like that Doc Ock, I don't believe that Doc Ock had a lot of cell shading on it.
No.
In the VHS series, so I think that was an example whereby that figure had been wanted for so long that so we did a clean version, basically, right?
Yeah.
But so it just depends. A lot of characters, your Spider-Mans and variations, we can pick and choose when we do cell shading. So like with the Carnage, that 2-pack, because we've done quite a few black symbiote costumes, that's why we put the blue cell shading on.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah, because the blue cell shading really works for that animated Spider-Man. I think it was really, really needed for him. I'm going to finish up with a traditional thing for a lot of these interviews. It's just a character list. So I'm going to read you some names.
I love the
I'm going to read you some names.
lists.
You don't have to say anything, but we'll see if Ryan does. So, we want Yellow Jacket, Man Spider, Lalandra, Titania, White Suit Patch, Puppet Master, Animated Vulture, Mole Man.
Is that all you got?
That's all I've got on my list.
All right, there's some interesting ones there. I don't know that I can confirm anything, but stuff might be in the works for one or more or zero of those.
One or more or zero.
It might be.
Stay tuned to find out. Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jay.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Please do, of course, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. And there are some more interviews to come from here at MCM London. In a minute, I'll be talking to Star Wars. Thank you, Ryan, and we'll see you later. Hi there, little bonus for all of you that stayed to the end of the interview. Not just an interview with Ryan Ting today, we've got an interview with Hank Pym himself. Giant Man, are you glad you got funded? He's absolutely ecstatic. Look at the smile on his face. See you on the next video.